Of American Forces perspective, the possibility of an increased role by USAF in Operation Desert Shield, providing more flexibility and mobility for NATO forces, and a visit from the Horsey set. These stories and more during the next 30 minutes.
Hello and welcome to American Forces Perspective. I'm Staff Sergeant John Guerrero. There are increased indications that Air Force personnel in Europe are going to be playing a more significant role in Operation Desert Shield. That's left a lot of us wondering when our turn will come to be sent to the Persian Gulf. USAF Commander-in-Chief General Robert Oakes met that question head-on in a visit to Soesterberg Air Base, the Netherlands.
I'm confident that we will soon move into a rotation scheme that will be a unit scheme where possible, but there's a lot of places you just can't rotate units. And so we already have a large number of individuals down there, some from Soesterberg, who are down there serving. And they will be replaced. And I suspect some of you will get to replace them. And depending on how long the operation goes, why we may all get to replace them. So we'll be out giving shots soon and getting people ready to go so that when the decision is made on the exact rotation schedule, that we will be ready to do it.
Air Force bases are just as important to Operation Desert Shield as Air Force people. That opinion was expressed by Secretary of the Air Force Donald Rice during an interview on the program View from the Top from Incirlik Air Base, Turkey. The Secretary says U.S. bases in Turkey are becoming strategically more important.
The United States has had a relationship on security matters and many other fields with Turkey for some 40 years. That clearly indicates the important role that we see Turkey as playing as a strategic crossroads in this part of the world. Turkey's been a staunch ally in NATO, and now with new problems arising in the region, I think we'll be seeing even more emphasis in the United States on developing and strengthening our relationship with Turkey.
Secretary Rice, who recently returned from the Persian Gulf, added he was impressed with the high morale of Air Force troops stationed there. The Air Force has a new Chief of Staff. General Merrill McPeak, the former Commander-in-Chief of Pacific Air Forces, has been confirmed by the U.S. Senate as the 14th Air Force Chief of Staff. General McPeak says he sees readiness, the day-to-day combat capability of the Air Force, as the service's highest priority. He added that the Air Force must have quality people who are well-led and highly motivated. General McPeak is a command pilot and parachutist with more than 5,000 hours of flying time. General McPeak replaces General Michael Dugan, who was dismissed by the Defense Secretary. General Dugan returned to USAF in November to be remembered by the enlisted corps in Europe with the highest honor they can give. Sergeant Daniela Marcus attended the ceremony.
General Michael Dugan was dismissed from the Air Force's top job in September. The reason for his dismissal, an interview outlining Defense Department strategies in the Persian Gulf.
The Secretary of Defense decided that he didn't need that story, he didn't like that story. He consulted with the President. I served at the pleasure of the President, and when the President no longer got pleasure, I didn't serve anymore. It was a good story. It was a story that needed to be told. I am sorry for the turbulence in the Air Force, and there is some turbulence in the Air Force. But beyond that, I have no regrets, no excuses, no explanations. And the Dugans are looking forward.
General Dugan returned to USAF in November at the request of USAF senior enlisted members.
Tonight, we formally induct General Michael J. Dugan into the Order of the Sword.
Those inducted into the Order of the Sword are a select few. USAF's enlisted members choose only those who have proven themselves exceptional leaders. The Order of the Sword has been a part of USAF since 1972. During the past 17 years, only 8 others have been named to the order.
Sergeant at Arms, make the presentation.
Secretary Donald Rice.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Order of the Sword induction ceremony for General Michael J. Dugan is concluded.
Sergeant Daniela Marcus, EBS, Ramstein Air Base, Germany.
NATO is considering a major shift in its command structure, a plan that allows forces to be moved from one command to another. The shift is a result of a new policy, changing national commands to multinational ones. The concept has been NATO's goal for years. Sergeant Scott Williams tells us how NATO forces worked as one unit for Exercise Ample Train.
6 nations took part in the exercise known as Ample Train. The exercise was staged at Bremgarten, a German air base in the southern part of the country. The purpose of the exercise was to make the mission a success, despite some very real and significant obstacles. For example, maintenance crews from Italy were assigned to Dutch aircraft. American teams were responsible for Italian jets and so forth. Ample Train is held twice a year, but this year there was more emphasis towards international cooperation. Not every nation in Ample Train is a member of NATO. Exercises like this use a multinational force concept, a concept Lieutenant Colonel Andre Allaire says is being considered.
Because it is an international program, it gives you more flexibility because you don't necessarily need to come to your home base in order to carry on the mission. And you can deploy in all directions of NATO.
3 American crews from Zweibrücken Air Base supported the many reconnaissance missions during Ample Train. Air Force representatives from NATO and France brought a variety of aircraft and people to the exercise, and with that combination of forces, problems were bound to happen.
The biggest problem is to try to standardize different weapon systems, different procedures, and different maintenance policies so that if you land, the ideal thing will be that you could land on any NATO airbase and be able to turn around the aircraft and carry on with the mission from that other base.
NATO's future could depend on a more flexible and more mobile type of defense. Exercises like Ample Train are putting that idea to work on the flight line. Reporting for Bremgarten Air Base, Germany, I'm Sergeant Scott Williams.
The latest news from Capitol Hill spells trouble for the construction of an air base at Crotone Air Base, Italy. $360 million for the project has been cut from the 1991 Military Construction Appropriations Bill. Crotone is designed to house the 401st Tactical Fighter Wing and would cost NATO $800 million. The 401st must leave its current home at Torrejón Air Base, Spain by the end of 1992. Also cut from the spending bill were European projects ranging from 8 schools in Germany to a hospital in Italy and 2 physical fitness centers in the United Kingdom. 5 other construction projects in Europe survived the budget acts. A part of the Air Force that will never change is training. It's what keeps units such as the security police ready for any situation. For SP units at San Vito Air Station, Italy, training has moved from the classroom to the field. Sergeant Stuart Mundus has more.
It's called Defender Challenge. It's conducted at night, and it puts the troops through both mental and physical tests.
People actually have to get down and get under some type of cover. They actually have to deploy and move around and realize that they're being shot at and they could be killed at any second by someone else, in which you really didn't have that type of realism before.
To the men and women who run through the course, the added realism is a definite positive point. Being able to see how individuals perform under real-world conditions is a big advantage over classroom training.
Defender Challenge training gave a lot of the younger troops a chance to put what they learned out in the classroom to work out in the field. And it definitely helps to see how they react under fire and what they do, because that makes a lot of difference.
The training is conducted on a competitive basis, with points being awarded for navigation, survival rate, and number of team members who complete each obstacle. From San Vito, I'm Air Force Sergeant Stuart Mundus, SEB News.
EUCOM, the United States European Command, providing leadership to U.S. Army, Navy, and Air Force units stationed in Europe. From headquarters at Stuttgart, EUCOM coordinates American forces in Europe, ensuring the highest degree of training and readiness. Dedicated to support the NATO allies, EUCOM stands ready.
Sponsorship. What's your game plan and how do you become a winner in the sponsorship process? It's simple. Just tailor your sponsorship.
most important issue when we talk about threat right now is it has been dramatically changed, and it's been changed and reduced by our success as a member of the NATO alliance. And that's cause for celebration and cause for pride on the part of every member of the United States Air Force today and that has been a part of USAFE in the past. And that's a tough message to get across.
It takes a lot of behind-the-scenes work to keep Air Force fighter jets flying. The job has become more demanding because of Operation Desert Shield. Senior Airman Bill Schnorr reports on one unit that's working long hours to maintain its planes at home and in Saudi Arabia.
The action isn't as fast in here. All the aircraft remain parked, and the sounds of clanking tools replace the roar of jet engines. The phase inspection hangar of the 52nd Equipment Maintenance Squadron at Spangdahlem Air Base may not resemble a scene out of Top Gun, but the work in here is directly responsible for keeping the planes in the air.
What we do is remove panels, go into areas, we inspect them, see if there's anything wrong. If we find any problems in the area, we correct them, if we're capable of correcting them, and then we go ahead and put the plane back together again, do functional checks, operational checks, and then give it back to the flight line.
Like many support squadrons, the EMS has felt the crunch of Operation Desert Shield. A number of Spangdahlem's aircraft have been sent to the Persian Gulf, along with several EMS members. Those workers will perform phase inspections in the Gulf region and will help repair any battle damage. Other inspectors at Spangdahlem say they've managed to pick up the slack despite the Gulf operations.
A lot of the younger troops and a lot of the less experienced people took that upon themselves to become more qualified, and right now we are phasing on schedule, and we have recouped what we did maybe lose for a few days.
It takes about 2 weeks to completely inspect each jet, and those doing the inspections have a reliability rate of 99.8%. They add that as far as they're concerned, the Persian Gulf crisis won't affect Spangdahlem's near-perfect record of keeping its planes in the air. Reporting from Spangdahlem Air Base, Airman Bill Schnorr, EBS News.
Spangdahlem is the only base in USAFE that flies F-4G Wild Weasels and F-16s together in a hunter-killer role. When we think of airplanes, most times we think of pilots. But just as important are the people who've been around almost as long as the day man first flew, navigators. For decades, navigation has relied on human skill and knowledge. But times are changing. The age of automation and advanced technology are making traditional navigation methods obsolete.
The full range of aerospace activities. So we are both a very good Air Force and a very comprehensive Air Force. And one of the things we have to do, and that will make our job so tough over the next few years, is we have to keep being both those things. We have to continue to be the world's best Air Force, and we have to continue to provide the full range of comprehensive aerospace services and activities in a different international environment and in a different domestic setting. That's going to be a challenge for all of us. And I welcome everyone to jump in here with me, and let's get started on it.
In October, General McPeak hosted a day of tribute to Bob Hope at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas. Tech Sergeant Wayne Amon of the Army and Air Force Hometown News Service has that story.
The day honoring Mr. Hope started in traditional military fashion as he reviewed the troops during a parade at the military. After the parade, Mr. Hope arrived at Lackland's amphitheater to be greeted by over 15,000 fans.
This afternoon, we hope to honor you in some small way for everything that you've given the military through the years, in particular to the Air Force in your 50-year performing history with the USO and to the military.
Seated right in the middle of the audience, Mr. Hope was treated to a musical salute performed by the Air Force Band of the West and Tops in Blue. Then it was Bob Hope's turn to take the stage.
I've been very lucky in my career. I've got a lot of tributes, but that tribute today out there in that field was something else. I tell you, I can't imagine, because I've been to San Antonio before and I couldn't get the bellhop on the phone. And to have that kind of a tribute is one of the greatest spots in my life, and I really appreciate it. You know, the good luck I've had, I've worked so hard for this country. I've taken girls like Ann Margaret and Raquel Welch, Lana Turner. I do it again for my country. That's the way I am.
That evening, the dedication ceremony was held at the Plaza between Arnold Hall and the Thunderbird Theater.
On behalf of the men and women of the United States Air Force, past, present, and future, we dedicate this building to be known from this moment on as the Bob Hope Performing Arts Center.
Mr. Hope, who's 87 years old, has been traveling to combat zones, overseas bases, and aircraft carriers for 49 years. Reporting for Air Force Now, I'm Tech Sergeant Wayne Amon.
Mr. Hope plans on entertaining Desert Shield troops for Christmas. Major General John J. Klausner is the new Chief of Air Force Reserve. He took command from Major General Roger P. Scheer. General Klausner said he would like to ensure that the reserve keeps the loyalty of its members and their families, the esprit de corps and positive image that the reserve has gained for its role in Desert Shield, Just Cause, and Grenada. AFIS is supplying special Christmas catalogs to the troops in Desert Shield. The catalogs will arrive in time for Christmas ordering. AFIS Commander Major General Jeffrey D. Kayla said these will enable the troops to participate in some small way in the Christmas holidays with his or her loved ones. AFIS will also supply holiday breads, cakes, pies, and decorations. Sergeant Chris Beckwith visited Saudi Arabia where he spoke with the commander of U.S. Central Command Air Forces. We'll have that special report when we return.
Without you, there'd be no USO. And the USO is where thousands of American service people and their families will go this Christmas looking for a little bit of home. Make sure they find it. Support the USO. The USA still needs the USO, and the USO needs you.
From the day the Vietnam War Memorial was unveiled, news photos showed it raising intense emotions in battle-hardened veterans and family members alike. John Devitt, a former Army helicopter gunner, was so overwhelmed when he visited the wall, he built his own, and he shares it with others. The traveling wall, a half-size replica of the Washington, D.C. shrine, arrived at George Air Force Base, California recently for a week-long stay. If you're going skiing this season, First Lieutenant Judy Morgan, a physical therapist and competitor in the 1990 Air Force Invitational Ski Meet, has a few tips on avoiding some painful mistakes.
Go with your buddies too. A lot of times they'll want you, okay, this is how you stop, this is how you turn, let's go up the hill. And you're getting up on the hill, you don't know how to get off the ski lift, you don't know how to stop, you don't know how to do anything, and then you're putting yourself in a potential situation to injure yourself and maybe a lot of other people too in the process. And, you know, professional lessons is worth the money, definitely, and you're going to advance.
Additional injuries, that figure rose to over $1 million. One of the more common injuries are attributed to poorly adjusted bindings.
It's very important. The person who you're getting the ski from should be very knowledgeable in the ski itself and the type of adjustments that you would need. You need to tell them what kind of skier you are, if you're a beginner, if you're intermediate or advanced. It depends on the settings, and also they need to know your weight.
Another common cause for injuries is no warm-up or an improper warm-up.
If it's really cold, you're going to need longer time to warm up. But I would say at least 15 minutes prior to skiing, just running around in circles or, you know, walking with your skis on or any of that that's going to warm up your body in the way that you're going to use it is very important, because when muscles are cold and you're putting high demands on them, that's when you're more prone to injuries too. Have fun.
In the studio with us is Sergeant Chris Beckwith of the Air Force Radio News Service. He spoke with the commander of U.S. Central Command Air Forces and has this special report. Chris?
Thanks, Sergeant Langdon.
Desert Shield is being billed the largest U.S. troop movement since World War II. And as a result, a lot of public attention has been given to the increasing size of the operation. Lieutenant General Charles Horner, commander of U.S. Central Command Air Forces in the region, says the focus should remain on accomplishing the President's set objectives. The troops are eager to perform their mission, he said. It's just difficult to define a specific timeline as to when that will be.
There's a lot of talk about troop morale. There's really only two questions that people want to know. They want to know if we're going to fight, and if that's the case, when, and how long they're going to be over here. And it's not a question of wanting to go home right away. Of course, they want to go home. But most of us came over here to do a job, and we want to stay here and do that job and then go home.
Many of the troops are reservists who left behind the 9-to-5 routines of a civilian career and lifestyle to stand in a military uniform behind the line drawn in the sand. I asked General Horner what impact the Reserve and Air National Guard have on an operation like Desert Shield.
The operation we have over here really is a total proof of the total force policy. Right now in this theater you have people from the active, obviously, Air National Guard and Air Force Reserve. They're serving together, and I'm sure there are those who want to try and point out the differences, what each brings to this particular banquet, if you will. The point is, though, that they're all doing very well, and I quite frankly can't tell the difference between a guardsman, a reservist, and an active duty force. So I think that is the bottom line. They're doing the job, and they're doing it very well.
Most every city in the United States has a tree in the public eye that displays a bright yellow ribbon as a symbol of support for the American men and women deployed to the Middle East. And according to the general, these little gestures are a godsend to the American service members serving in the region.
I think the biggest single blessing of this whole thing is the support that we over here have received from all the people back home, not only our military dependents, but all the people back home have really been positive. And the support, we know that they support us, and we know from the letters and the cards and the banners that we're being supported back home. And that also has helped our families who we've left behind. So I really, to the people back home, I say don't worry, because the folks here are being taken care of, and we believe and know that people back home are being taken care of as well.
Chris, do you have any personal observations on the mood of the troops? I spoke with a number of airmen and soldiers during my visit, and I think their general mood is best summed up by one airman's quote, "I'd rather be counting down the days than counting up," and I'm sure their families feel the same way. Okay, thanks so much, Chris. Good report. We will see how the folks back in the USA are helping the waiting families when we return with our Focal Point segment.
The kind of person who'd rather tune an engine than eat, who reads a tachometer like a love story, for whom the roar of fully blown horsepower is a lullaby. Have we got a machine for you? And in the hands of the right mechanic, it'll blow the doors off anything. Aim high, Air Force.
We know they could not do their jobs without the support of their devoted wives, husbands, children, and parents, as well as members of their communities.
The outpouring of support takes many forms, and here's just a sample of what it's like back in the USA.
Servicemen and women began leaving for Operation Desert Shield in August, the American public wasted no time in telling them how they felt. No longer captive to Vietnam's trauma, our troops marched off to an uninterrupted drumbeat of U.S. support. This tide of goodwill began to flow with Grenada and with Operation Just Cause in Panama. Everywhere, people rallied to show support to the men and women in Operation Desert Shield. Gratitude for the sacrifices they were making took many forms.
Was sitting there thinking about these soldiers out there in the desert sweltering, and thought that they might appreciate seeing some nice pictures of cold ice and snow.
Well, it started off with just a flag and the ribbon, and I was planning on painting the car anyway. Wanted them to know that it ain't another Vietnam, you know, that this time people are backing them up.
Well, that's right. I'm out here in the KYAK Great Land Band. We're taking donations of used books for our troops. Bring books. Read my lips. Books.
But the armed forces in Saudi Arabia were not the only ones to feel the warmth of American support. Back in the USA, families found that they could share their burden of waiting with a sympathetic community.
It's hard, but I'm making it. I still go around looking for friends for help and support. And when I'm lonely, I like to call somebody up.
Suddenly, mere acquaintances became close friends, and next-door neighbors stepped in for the family member who was too far away to help. While airmen await the future in the Saudi desert, their families wait at home.
I'm used to her, like, looking up to her. She won't be there to be like my best friend anymore. It's kind of hard having no dad to go fishing or so. It just gets pretty lonely around the house.
And until the soldier son, the airman parent, the sailor or Marine friend returns, the solidarity that has emerged in the wake of Operation Desert Shield continues. Back in the USA.
He's gone a long way. He really will be back. I just know he will.
The best way to show how much you care is with a letter. Send your correspondence to any American service member, Operation Desert Shield, APO New York 09848. And we'd like to hear from you about this program. Send your comments or suggestions to Air Force News Center, Kelly Air Force Base, Texas, 78241-5000. We'll close this issue of Air Force Now with a special salute to the men and women in Desert Shield by the Air Force Academy Cadet Corral. I'm Tech Sergeant Jim Langdon. Have a happy and safe holiday season.
Martin, whenever I'm in the desert, I drink a lot of water. Brought to you by Water, the best brand of water. What's this for? What is it?
Air Force Now.
Air Force Now? What is that?